Welcome back, Full Heel Podcast. I am your host, Rafael Chairez, the host of the Full Heel Podcast. Joining me today, my buddy, all the way from Canada, Ryan Dempsey.
Well, let me tell you something, brother. I am happy to be here to talk about the legendary Hulk Hogan with you right now.
Yeah, brother, it's been too long.
It's been a while, yeah. It's been a good few months, I think, since we've had a chance to sit down and talk.
It's been over a month. I don't know if it's been 2 yet. Last time we did WrestleMania 1. Was WrestleMania 2 months ago already?
God, yeah. Well, because we would have done it just before, because I think we were hoping to do a couple shows before WrestleMania, but then life kind of happens.
Yeah, then we got it in, though. We
Yeah.
got it in. Yeah, but thanks a lot for joining me today, Ryan. Today we are discussing the Immortal one, Terry Bollea, Hulk Hogan. So, should be a fun one. We're going to miss some stuff because this guy had a lot crammed into his career very early on.
Yeah, you're talking AWA to WWF to Japan, back to AWA, back to WWF to WCW. Like, he made his rounds.
Yeah, he definitely made his rounds, and I don't know, probably one of the most iconic and most recognized pro wrestlers of all time. I would say Austin probably made more money and was more popular because of the amount of eyes due to television and where it was at the time. But Hulk Hogan, for what he was, he's probably been the most phenomenal thing in wrestling there's ever been.
I'd say that, yeah, like when it comes to like the airport challenge, you know, if a guy walks into the airport, can people recognize him? I think Hogan's up there, like top 3. Like, he's gonna get noticed.
Yeah, top 3 for sure.
Him and Austin for sure. I don't even know. I want to say Flair, but I don't know if Flair has that recognizability.
Yeah.
Unless you're in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Because I think that, someone from Texas could probably easily walk right past Ric Flair and not even realize that it's him. But Hogan has that look to him.
Cheers, brother. Hell yeah,
Salute.
brother. Okay. No more for me.
You're done?
Yeah, 2. I got work tomorrow, so I cannot take 2 to loosen up, get a loosey-goosey, you know.
Yeah,
for the podcast.
I'm enjoying some nice Snoop wine.
Yeah, what is that? You showed it to me. I've never heard of it.
Yeah, so it's...
is it infused of any sorts?
No, it's just called 19 Crimes. It's 19 crime stories of Australian. How would you word it? People from England there when they face the death penalty or go to live in Australia. They chose Australia.
Mm-hmm.
There's an app that you download and you scan the label, and the person that's on the label actually tells you the story of their crime. Like, it becomes animated.
Mm-hmm.
So you drink the wine and you get to hear the story. And they just put out a random California Red with Snoop Dogg. And I haven't had a chance to listen to the full thing, so I'm not sure exactly what his story is. But it's a pretty nice little wine, so I'll enjoy it after a long day.
Not much of a wine guy. I'm decided that I'm going to do whiskey from now on just to have a couple shots loosen me up. But other than that, like beer and all that other shit, I can't do it.
I'm much more a beer guy, and I enjoy sipping on wine time to time more than anything else.
Yeah, I don't think I ever got into wine. They had wine night over there in Champaign, but it was cheap wine. It was like $8 a bottle, and they paired it with like 90s night. So like they'd play like Britney Spears and like.
Just get trash. You're gonna get trash on cheap wine and dance to bad music.
It was I'm gonna just go out and say it. It was some white shit, all right.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's.
For this fucking Mexican, I was like, all right, we went a couple times, but we were definitely the fucking odd ducks out. It's like the fuck. I
could picture you like Grandpa Simpson when he goes to the brothel and Bart's working.
Yeah.
Walks in, takes off his hat, sees Bart, turns around, grabs his hat, just walks out the door.
Yeah, no,
You walk in, hit me, baby, one more time's playing. They give you an $8 bottle of wine. You just walk right back out the door.
Oh no, dude, it was me. Hit me, baby, one more time. Ah, pouring the wine all over my. No, it's just
uh,
no.
that's
Like I said,
awesome.
I the most I've drank now is well, I would say it on here. I wouldn't drink just because I didn't want to, but recently I've been taking a shot or two for the show, for the podcast, loosen me up a bit, warm me up a bit. And it
Right.
definitely helps. I'm not trying to get drunk, and I'm not trying to have a bunch of beers where I can feel bloated and want to take
Just
a piss.
something to just kind of help you, just like you said before, they could just kind of ease into everything.
Yeah, definitely.
Just loosen up a bit. Just kind of feel the conversation flow better.
Yeah, exactly. Before we get into Hulk Hogan, brother, Hulkamania, what have you been up to, Ryan?
Uh, Baking, man.
Baking. Me too.
Bread by that's no, man. I got my my little bread business is up and running now in Windsor. Just a small rate. It's just from the house, nothing major.
Raphael's Full Heel Podcast branch of bread company in Canada. Watch one day, Ryan.
Here we
One
go.
day.
Oh, it's funny because I actually had a busboy I was working with was asking me if I could do cannabis infused bread. I'm like, I don't know. That's like that. There's a science behind cooking with extracts that I don't want to know just yet.
Yeah, you have to.
But
You can buy the oil and it'll be a lot easier, but like if you want to extract it
that's
yourself,
but that's the other thing too. Like you gotta be like I don't want to like take the oil and mix it into the bread, and I don't know the components of that oil. Like, will baking it destroy it so that you don't get the effects of the CBD, like the relaxing? You know what I mean? Like that's something I would just rather let the professionals deal with. For now, like I said, I'm just getting started, but it's been a fantastic week and a half now that I've been going, maybe almost
Nice.
2 weeks.
Nice. Me and you have been venturing into our own little side gigs here.
Yeah.
I'm-
You got
I'm
your,
over here,
your
I got-
keto meals working. I
Yeah.
got the bread going.
Dude, and people are loving it. Like I've been selling like I've been selling $100 every week of food.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, and that's just like pretty much my overtime stint that I was doing. So I've been still doing it, putting in overtime. But that's how much pretty much out of 4 or 5 hours of overtime I'm making that in meals. And I just have to cook a little bit more. It's not even like I'm doing that much more. I'm cooking anyway. And if these people
Well,
were to ask,
that's it. Right? It actually started just from an old friend. She has a woodworking company that she started during the pandemic, and I just happened to kind of catch it on. Ooh, that looks good.
I started putting a pecan in the middle. Look at it. Make
It
it look
happened
nice.
to pop up on Facebook, her woodworking thing. I ended up reconnecting with her, and she told me about my breads. And I was like, yeah, I do. I used to do it, but it's kind of on hiatus right now because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And so she ordered some stuff, and she just keeps on ordering random things. And she's got my my page and my pictures that she puts. Like, she's helping me like immensely. And like I said, people that I work with are ordering from me now. Like how it's kind of like how it started with you, right? People from workplace in order because they hear about it and they see it.
Yep.
You get your name out there, and who knows? Slowly things grow.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah, no, we're both venturing into little side gigs. Hopefully, we can turn that into something. I'm definitely gonna keep just cooking anyway, just because it's kind of a lifestyle now. I'm getting ripped over here on keto, so it's always a great
Yeah.
thing. Look at that, everyone.
Well, and that's it too. Like I'm just loving getting back and just making my own breads again. And I was gonna say, speaking of Hulk Hogan over here,
Who's the real Hulkster now, huh? the
When-
genetic freak. Because with my 33% chance,
yeah, that's so great.
no,
Yeah, you sent me that the other day, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck, I hadn't seen that in so long. When I went back and I watched Scott Steiner's Math, dear Christ Almighty, he's fantastic.
Yeah,
that man.
he's the best. But enough about the keto stuff. Well, if anyone has any questions about keto, go ahead and hit me up, message me, let me know what's going on. If you want to know recipes, if you want to know what it partakes to get on a keto-friendly diet, you don't have to necessarily go 100% keto. You can incorporate minimal carbs and still be on a very healthy diet and still drop weight. Let me know. Hit me up. And if anyone in the Chicago South Side area needs keto meals, let me know. Maybe we could work out some kind of plan where I hook it up with some meals. $10 a meal. Desserts are extra, but the desserts are fucking bomb. I don't know. Maybe I'll work something out where if you buy like 5 or more, you get desserts with every meal. Something like that.
That's not a bad idea. Or
Yeah.
or just throw in like a couple somethings
Yeah.
as like a little bonus.
Because I've been giving some meals away for free, and people are like, "Whoa, man!" And they buy some. So
That's how it starts, right? Like I always say, like with the people, I always give them a little something like, "Oh, let me pay you for that." I said, you ordered this. I made you this. What you didn't order it, don't pay for it. Just take it, taste it, try it. Let me know what you think. If you want it, you can order it. If you don't like it, you didn't pay for it. So,
let's see. I guess we'll get into it today. We're going to be talking about Hulk Hogan, the Immortal One, Terry Eugene Bollea, born August 11th, 1953. He started his wrestling career in mid 1977, and he was given his first pair of wrestling boots by Jack Briscoe. Had his first match a week later against. I thought I wrote it down, but I guess I did it. Let's see. August 10th, 1977, in the CWF. Hogan has his first match against Brian Blair. I did write it down in Fort Myers, Florida.
future Killer B.
Oh, is that one of the Killer Bees?
Yeah, B. Brian Blair.
A little bit after that, Hogan he wears a mask. I didn't know he wore a mask. He was
Mr. America.
he was no he was oh yeah I guess that one too. But
Yeah.
He was the Super Destroyer. Before anyone knew who he was, or anything, he was just getting some experience in. A lot of people wore that one as well, kind of like the Killer Bee outfits and Doink.
Yeah.
They had other guys play him. Hogan takes a break in 1977. Right away, he takes a break, and then he starts managing the Anchor Club. I guess is a fitness club or
Right.
yeah, it's a fitness club. And then after that, opens up his own gym. I forgot who it was with, but it's his name on it. It's Terry Olympic Gym and something else. Where Beefcake comes in, starts training with him, gets jacked as hell, and Hogan has the idea. Boom, I get tagged with this guy. We can be a tag team. So Hogan decides to go back into wrestling, but doesn't want to wrestle. I guess I was in Florida, and calls. What was it? I don't know who the promoter was at the time. No, it wasn't Vern Gagne. Graham.
Mike Graham?
No.
Autogram?
I forgot who it was. I should have wrote down the full name. It was just Graham.
In AWA?
No, I think that's where I think this is where he's gonna go. He's trying to get out of the CWF. So actually it is him. He calls him for work outside of Florida, and he gets work in Alabama. So during his time in Memphis, this is where Hogan appears on. I forgot what talk show he appears on, but he's next to Lou Ferrigno. And for people that don't know who Lou Ferrigno is,
he called Superstar Billy Graham.
Okay, yeah, there we go, Superstar Billy Graham, which was like almost like an original Hogan at the time. I don't know. I couldn't.
I was
going
to say it's kind of funny to say almost he contacted him and then he basically stole the entire look.
But yeah, stole the look, and I guess didn't seem lame. Yeah, but he got some work outside of Florida and Alabama. Hogan appears on some talk show. He sits beside Lou Ferrigno, who at that time was the Incredible Hulk. The host mentions that Hulk Hogan is bigger than Lou Ferrigno, and kind of like says like, well, this guy should be the Hulk. Look at him; he's bigger than you, taller than you. This guy's the Hulk. I'm guessing this is where Hulk Hogan got the idea, and they got the idea for Hulk Hogan because he was 6'7", 295 pounds, 24-inch biceps.
All natural.
Yep, all natural.
All natural.
That'll come up later. All natural. So Hulk Hogan wins his first title in the NWA, wrestling in he wins the Southern Heavyweight Championship, defeating Bob Roop. So that's his first title win. Hogan wrestles his first match for the WWF in November 19. November 17th, was it 1979, against Harry Valdez. I have no idea who that is. And believe it or not, Hulk Hogan was a heel when he first ran, in his first run with the company. His manager was Classy Freddie Blassie, which later on will be, way later on is going to be in a feud.
Yeah.
Involving Hogan as well. And then starting in the 1980s, Hogan starts touring in Japan as well. But he's also appearing in WWF, so I guess they were letting him go back and forth. He had enough popularity to where he could do it, I guess. Hogan faces Pedro Morales in 1981 for the IC belt. Doesn't capture it. I don't think he ever was Intercontinental Champion.
No.
He faces Warrior for it, but can't capture it either there. We'll talk about that later on.
No, I think I don't. I think the only time he was even tag team champion was with Edge.
Yeah, because he never won no beefcake.
I think he when WWF blew up, he was champion, and that was it. There was no need to give him a secondary title at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. And then in June 1983, Hogan becomes the first international wrestling Grand Prix champion, the IWGP champion, which will later go on to be the World Heavyweight IGP title, their heavyweight championship for New Japan, which was recently they gave them a new belt. They actually they merged two belts. They merged the heavyweight and the Intercontinental. I don't know why. And the Divas. And they made it into the Divas, right? Pretty much. What I saw is they made it into what's his name's neck tattoo, Cody Rhodes' neck tattoo. Yeah.
No, dude. When I first saw it, my first thought was that looks like the Divas title. For like it has almost like they took the faceplate and just made it a little bit larger and changed the paint job. Like it just
it's pretty bad.
I mean, Japan doesn't have like a lot of they have legendary titles, but when you close your eyes and you think of a title, you don't think of a Japanese title, right? That one's I feel like gonna be remembered for the wrong reasons.
Oh, yeah, these are the wrong reasons to remember that one.
It's like
I like the previous ones.
When you close your eyes and you think of title belts, you think of Wind Eagle, Goldie, some tag titles. You think about those classic ones, and you do know the New Japan and All Japan titles, but not everyone can just picture them like that. Mm-hmm. And
I don't want to divert too much, but we're talking about New Japan and we're talking about the Grand Prix and kind of the first origins of their heavyweight title. So let me mark so I know where I'm at. And okay, so we've been doing podcasts. We talk about AEW sometimes. Wow, what AEW is doing right now is fucking fantastic. I'm loving it to the fullest extent. I remember talking to you about like, oh, they should defend the U.S. title on there.
They should have those.
Kenny Omega is fucking Impact champion, TNA champion, AEW champion, AAA champion.
Yeah, I like the way that they're almost bringing the territory feel back. It's gonna be impossible to have like the old school NWA champion. Like they'll never have one title and the guy just tours. The promotions are too big nowadays. But I like what they're doing. I like that they're getting more eyes to more audiences. And I don't know how it would work, but I can definitely foresee them doing something with WWE in the future. I think once Vince is out of the way, I think that I think the door will be open for negotiations if AEW is still around to kick.
Yeah. Well, it took for Vince Sr. to sell the company to Vince for Vince to kill the territories, and maybe it's going to take for Triple H to take over for WWF to bring back kind of like, let's all be a territory thing, and hey, I'll put you over here and you put me over there.
You can all have your own title, and you know what? this title get dropped here, and they'll have the proper arrangement, and then I think that the biggest problem with Ric Flair joining WWF was the fact that the territories were dead, right?
Yeah.
Because he brought that title with him to WWF television, and I think that in the future there will have to be like serious negotiations about if you drop the title, or if you win the title from so and so, you can't just run off. Like there would have to be like some serious like contractual obligations for sure.
No, at that time was I think the perfect storm for it, because all the power that Flair had, the deposit that Flair had,
Yeah.
the angle change and the character control that Flair had over his character, and then wanting to change him into a fucking Spartan with black hair, and
Yeah.
it all came it all came to a head, and Flair is like, fuck that, you're not giving my money, I'm taking the belt over there. And I'm pretty sure they could have done something, but it was a whole dick measuring contest. I'm not giving up, and I'm not giving up over here between Flair
Right.
and them, which then becomes a dick measuring contest between the WWF and WCW, NWA at the time, Jim Crockett Promotions. It was a whole fucking shit show at that time, and they could have made it into something if if cooler heads would have prevailed. And again, not a
Right.
dick measuring contest, which right now AEW seems like with Tony Khan and everything. They're wrestling fans. They're like, you have Cody Rhodes, a
Yeah.
wrestling purist. His father's fucking the American dream, Dusty Rhodes, baby. You have Chris Jericho, fucking the guy that's kept his character alive for how long, and and just
Yep.
made like the minor tweak that everyone's like, fuck yeah, Chris Jericho again, and we fucking buy into it all the time.
Jericho's been what, early '90s when he started out.
Mm-hmm. And it's just like, I have a lot of faith in AEW, and I like WWE. I still try to watch the product whenever I have time. I record the product and I go back and I at least watch the breakdowns if I can't catch the show.
I think that honest to God, the biggest problem with WWE right now might be NXT, in the sense that that third show dilutes their product,
Mm-hmm.
and getting those guys, and I understand why they do it, but I think getting those guys on TV, like on Monday and Friday, and cutting the weight on Monday and Friday, because there are some guys that they don't need that are still there. And I think that that's preventing NXT guys from actually getting the chance to be like on the main show. But NXT was never meant to be that way. And it kind of developed a cult following overnight. So you can't get rid of NXT because you need it. But at the same time, I think that that third show really hurts their drawing power. Because people are like, I don't want to watch 3 hours of Raw, an hour of NXT, and then 2 hours. Like it's a lot for people to kind of watch and follow. Whereas before you had 2 hours of Raw, 2 hours of SmackDown, and out done.
Mm-hmm.
And the more shows you have, the more stars you have. The more stars you have, the more storylines you have, and it gets a lot more convoluted.
Yeah, and NXT's in a weird position. It's like they're put there to steal away the indie talent, but everyone's drawn to them because we want to see good wrestling and they have good storylines. It's done right,
Exactly.
so we're drawn to it. So then WWE is like, all right, we're going to steal them for our big shows, which aren't done right. So then they steal our big stars to try to catch our eyes, and then we don't want that shit, and now we're seeing a lot of them getting regurgitated back to NXT, or
And that's the thing,
straight up
like,
failing on the main roster.
I remember when Finn Balor went back to NXT on I think it was the first night of AEW, or around that time. I remember thinking that's the greatest thing for him, because he's not going to, like, he's going to be over on Raw and over on SmackDown, but he's not going to work there.
He'll
He's
be
just gonna,
IC champion at best.
yeah.
They'll give him the title and he can hold that for a while, but I don't think
he would
they
never
have
get
faith
to
in
that.
him. I
Yeah,
have faith
and
in him. I
think the fans loved him. The fans would follow him. If he main evented, say, like WrestleMania against Seth Rollins, the fans would love that.
You know what he's in? He's in a similar situation that CM Punk was in. The fans are 100% behind him no matter what,
Yeah.
but the company is hesitant to pull the trigger for some reason.
And the one time that they did, he gets hurt.
Yeah.
And I think and it sucks because technically they can say, well, you're not reliable because you have an injury.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, say I've been injured once in 7 years. It just happened to come at the worst time possible.
Yeah.
Like, how many times have you seen a guy go to WWE, the main roster, not even main roster, just forget NXT, just back whenever. A guy goes to Raw, wins the title, gets hurt, comes back and wins the title right away. Oh, Karrion Kross just did it. They have no problem if they want to put a title on you and you get hurt, they work around it.
Mm-hmm.
But with Finn, it was just like he got hurt, and it's okay. Well, we'll just
There's
forget
your
all
chance,
about him.
buddy. Sorry. Next.
Yep. Yeah.
It's like, what?
Yeah.
It's like, you have
And
money here, dude.
And him and Seth could have had a good 3-4 month feud. They could have had something fantastic.
That's the feud to build, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like right there, those two guys, and then you can have Roman and someone else on another show, and that's two beautiful feuds on
Plus,
both shows.
imagine if you had like the Monday Night like Messiah, and then you had the Demon trying to break up the Church of Rollins or something like that. You know what I mean? Like you could have had something fun there. But again, even with all of that, like AOP getting hurt, and all, like, you know what I mean, that whole angle fell up. Like it just sucks. It seems like, yeah, you either get brought up to the roster, they don't know what to do with you, or you get brought up in the roster and you get hurt.
Yeah, sucks. I'm glad they're doing all this stuff, and like I said, I have faith in them. They're wrestling fans. They were watching WCW back in the day. Tony Khan was a teenager. He was a fan. Yep. Cody Rhodes grew up in the business. Jericho literally experienced wrestling in the boom years of it. So it's like, hopefully they can keep this up track going. And ever since NXT moved to Tuesdays, which is what should have, well, what I remember was NXT or AEW was going to be on a Tuesday, and we're going to have Monday Raw, Tuesday AEW, Wednesday NXT, Thursday was, I think, New Japan or something like that, and then Friday was going to be SmackDown. It's like, oh, a whole week of wrestling. But then I forgot what happened. Or I think AEW announced they were going to be Wednesdays, and then NXT's like, we're going to network television and we're going to be Wednesdays too. And it's like, you're cutting the crowd in half there.
Yeah, and I mean, you're seeing it now too, like, you know, with the AEW now being the lone show on Wednesday nights.
They're breaking 1 million.
And it's one of those things where it's like you would have had, and now they're going to say like, oh, we won the war. They didn't win that war, and that's the thing that people keep on talking about, how AEW made NXT switch over to Tuesdays, and now look at all the eyes. NXT switched over because of the NHL playoffs.
Mm-hmm. And it works for both shows. I'm sure NXT is getting more views as well. Because now you're not cutting the crowd. Those two shows are the worst for a fan. I guess for them, if you want to start a war, that's cool. But for a fan, that's the worst thing you could do for me. Don't split up the two best shows. I want to watch both of them.
That's it. Yeah.
Now I have to choose and record the other, and I still got to watch them. But still, you're making me choose now.
Yep.
But now, I can watch one on Tuesday, and I can watch it on Wednesday. So it's a lot better now, as a fan.
And I do say, and I've said this before, I hate when I hear people say, like, oh, what AEW is putting on TV, like, their stories are a lot better. And I remember, like, I tell people, like, yeah, I agree. I enjoyed those stories 20 years ago when they were first happening. Like, don't get me wrong, they are doing some fun things, and they are doing, they are telling some, but there are a lot of guys that are telling the same story that they told years ago, and we're pretending that it's brand new.
As a wrestling fan, if you go overview and you look at both companies, I think they're both pushing each other to be better than where wrestling was 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
100%. I mean, we saw that with the Attitude Era.
Mm-hmm.
When Nitro and Raw were both going head to head and they were pushing each other to go higher and higher and higher, it was awesome. And then when WCW got bought out, WWF figured, well, we have the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
We have some of their talent. The rest of their talent's going to go to TNA or retire. No one's going to watch TNA. They're not a threat. All we have to do right now is just, just coast.
Yeah,
Go to
the war
go to
started at the
just
end
go
of
to
'96, and it
yeah. And
lasted to if you want to be nice, '99, if you want to be nice.
yeah.
But
Yeah, WCW was dying in
yeah,
2000 before being bought out in early '01.
hmm
And people say that the Attitude Era technically lasted until 2002, but that's being extremely generous.
yeah. Look, I'm happy wrestling is they're pushing each other and we're getting better storylines. Look where Roman Reigns is now at. I enjoy the Fiend shit as goofy as it is and as sci-fi and as horror. It's something different.
It's different, yeah. Well, actually, who is that? Um, like they have their own AEW. God, her name just left my head.
Yeah, that weird chick.
Yeah, she's like a zombie.
Yeah, she comes
Oh
out face
fuck!
paint and everything.
Yeah, it starts with an A. I'm gonna kick myself for not thinking of it. But you look at her and it's like, I watch. I'm like, that's pretty cool.
Hmm
Like that's different. Like that stands out. But then I'm like looking. I'm like, well, how is this gimmick gonna look in 5 years?
Yeah,
If she's still in AEW, what are you gonna do with that gimmick? Are you gonna be cured in some like priest exorcism angle and then become a different how where
yeah,
there's only so much you can do with that character. Like you're either gonna be stuck like that. Like it not everyone can do the same character for. I mean, even Undertaker and Kane, they changed.
yeah. They evolved.
Even though Undertaker went back, he was a different. He went from the Dead Man to the Undertaker. By Undertaker in 2010-11 wasn't the same Undertaker that we saw in 91-92. Just like Kane, when he took off his mask, he was, or actually, how about when he put that mask back on in like 12-13, he had like that tin mask. He ripped it off. It was like almost Phantom of the Opera style, just across
Yeah.
the upper part of his face.
hmm
It was still an evolution of his character.
Yeah, but there really isn't that much for that chick. I could see it.
I like it, but there's only so much you can do with her. And the same thing
Yeah.
with the Fiend. The Fiend, they're trying. Like they had him burned alive, and when he came back, his makeup is a bit different. I like that, but at the same time, like, what's next? Like, is he gonna get buried alive? Next thing you know, he's gonna come out. He's gonna have worms on his mask. Like, there's only so much you can do with some of these characters.
Yeah,
They're fun, but it's gonna be hard for them to last a long time.
they needed to do what they did with Finn and the Demon.
And the Demon, yeah.
They need. He's special. Pay-per-view.
It should have been Bray all the time, and Bray picking up wins and Bray picking up losses. But when Bray's fighting for the title against Seth Rollins, out comes the Fiend.
Mm-hmm. But
Or if it's a big rivalry match.
they knew they had money in it, and they're like, you know what, we're cashing this in right now, and they're like, pow, pow,
Yeah.
pow, 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 and it's like people are like, all right, well,
And it worked, and people loved it. But now people are at the same time. Now they're just like, they're not all in as much as they were because they've now seen it for 2-3 years. The same thing. It's just here's the Fiend. Like, but
we'll see where that goes. Hopefully, they do something with it. They're keeping them off TVs. I think they realized it, and that they've been keeping them off for stints now,
Yeah.
unless Bray's hurt. But I don't think so. I don't think he's hurt. I think they're realizing it. I think they're letting Triple H take over a little bit more now.
Yeah.
Like I'm telling you, stuff is changing. Like you can feel the change in WWE.
Yeah, well, I haven't watched it close enough, but I've heard that the WrestleMania nights 1 to 2 were completely different, and one was a Vince McMahon show, and one was a Shane and Stephanie and Hunter show.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that the Vince show, you could just tell it was a Vince show, and it
Well, you
was
could tell
not
by
good.
the lineup. Like if you could tell by the main event whose show was whose. The main event for Triple H and Stephanie was Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks.
Yeah.
Just by the pay-per-view or by the main event, you could tell whose it was.
Yeah, Vince was not going to be doing that anytime soon.
No. Two females, and they were black. Two
Yeah.
black females.
Yeah.
Vince wouldn't have done that. He was hesitant about putting Ronda Rousey, a multimillionaire from fighting from UFC. He was hesitant about doing that.
Yeah.
So what did he do? He's like, all right, let's make it a triple threat. He needed 3 people: Flair's daughter, and Ronda Rousey, and Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch being the lesser of the 3. At the time,
Actually, I think At the time, she was probably bigger actually.
You think
'Cause
so?
that man gimmick was a good 6 months in
Yeah.
at that point. She remember she was the challenger to 2 titles, and she walked out last.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only other person that I think did that at WrestleMania was Hogan.
That's one of the smartest cash-ins that WWE had at the time. They knew what they had and they cashed it in, and they're like, we know what we got here. This is an Austin-esque thing. Ooh, when she comes back, ooh, I can't wait.
When she comes back, it's gonna be fire.
Can't wait.
They got to bring her in right.
You know what they gotta do?
To see how they do it.
They gotta bring her in, and then the same night, bring in Ronda Rousey.
Well, Ronda's gone for at least a year.
Yeah.
But
yeah, she's gonna have a baby.
Well, what did I see? They said I saw at like 9 a.m. It was a leaked SummerSlam lineup, and one of the matches was Becky versus Ronda.
Mm-hmm.
And like an hour and a half later, Ronda Rousey broke the news she was pregnant. And all of a sudden, everywhere I saw that post, it was gone. I feel like WWE had like accidentally, quote unquote, leaked the information to try and like stir up some interest.
Yeah.
And then when they got the news, they're like, "Oh shit, take it down, take it all down now."
Yeah,
like,
we can't have pregnant chicks bouncing around in there.
Yeah, last time we did that, Becky had.
Last time we had that, someone had a hand.
Yeah.
Someone had a miscarriage and they had a hand.
Fuck. We went from talking about Hulk Hogan to Mae Young giving birth to a hand.
Old dinosaurs. All right, I guess we should get back on track, right? Hey, the United States Championship is being defended on AEW like I requested. Thank you, Tony Khan. Send me my check. Now they probably had this plan, like, or they've probably been trying to lay this out for a while. This takes planning what they're doing here. This doesn't take like, hey, let's do this. Okay, deal.
You don't just call them up and say, hey, next week.
Yeah.
It takes months of negotiating because there's a lot of money involved in those things too.
Yeah.
It's a company's legacy is at stake, right? No matter how prestigious the legacy is, it's still there.
Let's see, what year was this that Hogan films Rocky 3? 1983? 84?
Yeah. I think it was 83 because he was champion in 84 for WrestleMania 1.
Yeah. Yeah, so he starts filming scenes for Rocky 3 against Mr. McMahon's wishes, but this is McMahon Sr., so it's not even it's not his son yet. He hasn't bought the company yet. Against McMahon's wishes, and Hogan makes his debut for the AWA, owned by Vern Gagne at the time. And then 1983, Vince buys the WWF and picks Hogan as his number one guy. So right away, Vince knew what Hogan's potential was, and Vern didn't see it. Superstar Billy Graham didn't see it. For some reason, Vince saw it, and he's like, "That's my guy. I'm buying the company, and that's who I'm taking off with." And
he's going with Thunderlips.
Yeah. Hogan makes his return to television on a televised taping in St. Louis, Missouri, on December 27th, 1983, defeating Bill Dixon. I don't know who that is.
Legendary Bill Dixon. Billy Dix, we called him.
Oh, Billy Dix. Billy the Kid Dixon?
Billy the Kid Dixon, yeah, something like that.
January 23rd, Hogan won his first WWF World Heavyweight Championship, pinning the Iron Sheik, who at that time had...
in a match that Hogan was shitting his pants the entire time.
Yeah, fucking the Sheik, or as I like to call him, Vicente Chaves, my father, had classy Freddie Blassie in his corner.
Sheiky Baby has gone on record saying that, I had no problem doing the job, but if I didn't want to, Hogan wouldn't be walking.
Yeah.
He basically said, if I want to break his legs out there, I will break his legs out there.
Yeah, no, I think this is famously, fuck you, Hogan, I fucking put you over and you never fucking give me the title back. What, you never give me my rematch?
Yeah.
He never, so to this day, he says, fuck you, Hogan, because... what happened was Backlund had the title, but they wanted Hogan to have it. But at that time, you couldn't have babyface beat a babyface, and Hogan is a babyface. Yeah. So, Iron Sheik, I think it was the Iron Sheik, was beating up Backlund, and Hogan comes out to defend Backlund, and Backlund for some reason is like, hey, this guy's a good guy, and this is where Hogan turns and turns face, and he's like, he's a good guy, and he's not gonna have that guy Blassie around him anymore, and that leads to the angle where Blassie's Iron Sheik's manager,
yeah.
and Hogan beats Iron Sheik for the title, and that's how they wanted to switch hands, because they didn't want babyface. They wanted Hogan as a babyface, but they didn't want him to beat babyface Backlund.
Yeah, you didn't. Yeah, you didn't have babyface matches back then. It was just unheard of.
Mm-hmm. So like for 2 weeks, Sheik was champion, and then he drops it to Hogan, quick, and to this day, Iron Sheik is pissed. You fucking piece of shit, Hogan. You
At least get
give me my
rematch.
rematch.
They could have had some fun.
Yeah. Let's see, where was I? And then in 1984, I think that same year, Hogan has his Marvel troubles. So I've talked to people about these Marvel troubles that Hogan has. So Hulk Hogan, got permission from, I guess it was kind of permission. It was so he didn't get sued. So Hogan could not use the Incredible Hulk Hogan because it was the Incredible Hulk. He could use Hulk Hogan, but he could not dress in green or purple because those were the Hulk colors. And he had to give like 10% of his money to, or like or up to a certain amount to Marvel for using the moniker Hulk for a certain amount of time, and then after a certain amount of time, it was his. Yeah, he had some troubles with Marvel where he had to actually have licensing, which is kind of crazy.
I find that funny.
Yeah.
1980. And you have to wonder, like, if he doesn't get spotted on that TV show being compared to Lou Ferrigno, if that never happens, and he just and someone just says to him, "Hey man, you're bigger than Lou Ferrigno. You should be the Hulk," and he comes out as Hulk Hogan, people might have saw the comparisons, but they might not. They also might not have seen them. The fact that it was on TV and pointed out like that, that's the only. If it's just in the dressing room and he has and Vince McMahon's watching TV and he sees that, you're good.
Yeah, that might have drawn a lot of attention to that name. In 1985, WrestleMania 1, Hogan tags with Mr. T against Paul Orndorff, Mr. Wonderful, and Roddy Rowdy Piper.
I pity the fool.
So they did this because of the Rocky thing, right? So they were famous off the Rocky movie.
Yeah.
And
I don't really know the whole. Well, Hogan was also on A-Team, and Mr. T was involved in WWF for the first 2 WrestleManias at least. I don't know if he did other stuff during the like the rock and wrestling era of the mid '80s.
Well, he went on to box Rowdy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what was I going to say about Hogan? Mr. Wonderful had turned on Hogan, which was one of the biggest heel turns at the time. It kind of gets buried and not remembered. But Mr. Wonderful and Hogan were partners, and then Paul Orndorff turns on him, and it was crazy.
Yep.
At the time.
At the time, yeah. It's not like what you're going to see 11 years later with Hogan and the Outsiders, but at the time, it was when it was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But, things pale in comparison as they go.
1986 WrestleMania 2, he took on King Kong Bundy in a cage match in the iconic blue cage. He wins. 1987 WrestleMania 3 versus Andre the Giant.
Fezzik.
That was his French name, right? Or his real name?
No, that was his name in The Princess Bride.
Oh, okay.
I watched that with the kids today.
Oh, yeah, you said you were going to watch that, right?
Yeah, we checked it out.
Did they enjoy it?
Carla loved it. I knew she would love it. Connor was he liked the sword fighting and that kind of stuff that kind of got him into it, but the love story thing didn't really do much for him.
Yeah.
But
he's still a kid, so
we're sitting there, we're watching the movie, and I said to Connor, I'm like, you know what's really cool? Now, you see that big guy Fezzik? When they were filming this movie, he was in a lot of pain. Connor goes, why? He said, well, he didn't feel good. And then he farted for 15 seconds. And then the director of the movie said, how do you feel? He says, good, boss. And Connor's like Connor's looking at me like, I don't understand. Like, I'm trying to, I guess in my head, I'm realizing like that, like, I think that's a fucking classic story.
Yeah.
But to Connor, if he farts, is that 1 second? Is it 2 minutes? You know what I mean? Like, they don't have that time conception yet. So I could tell him like whatever, how long something is, it doesn't mean anything to him. So it was kind of lost on him. But I was like, man, like, it just just thinking about Andre the Giant dropping like a fucking fart, like just like clear the set.
Dude, all the beer he would drink.
I was gonna say 103 beers and a couple bottles of wine. He drops a fart.
Ooh. At this time, he was super fucked up too. Well, in pain and shit. Yeah. He was being held up by wires. For those people that don't know, like they were walking around with wires on the set because he struggled to walk around.
His legs were gone at that point. His back was fucked.
Yeah. So this match at WrestleMania 3, I guess, was the first match because me and Ryan choose 3 matches that we'll go back and watch and kind of talk about and kind of reference at the time. I'm gonna be kind of candid here. All Hogan's matches are pretty much the same. Even especially at this time, they're all the same. He's getting beat up, he comes back, gets beat up, he comes back.
It's funny when we were talking about it. We were talking about this when I said that we should do a Hogan thing, and you said, "Yeah, that'd be cool, whatever." So I'm thinking, I'm like, fuck, man. We're only gonna do the WWF. We're gonna stop in 1994. We're gonna come back in 2002, and that's it, right? Like, there's gonna be like that. WCW is its own thing.
Yeah, we could talk. We could glance over it real quick.
Well, because like you had said, his WCW thing we basically did when we covered the NWO.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, like, God, like, do you think with the pay-per-views back then, all the matches we're gonna pick are gonna be WrestleMania?
Yeah. Well, at this time there was nothing else.
Because that's all it was. And I was trying to think, like, he was in the Royal Rumble, so you're not gonna pick a Royal Rumble match because he was just in the actual Rumble for the first couple. And then I started so I'm like, I was racking my brain. So I was happy that I was able to find a pay-per-view match that was kind of iconic, that wasn't WrestleMania, and I picked it. And then you came by with the Saturday Night's Main Event, which I didn't even think of going that angle. But sure enough, we like 4 of our matches are going to be WrestleMania based. Which, I mean, you think about the first decade of WrestleMania, it's Hogan.
Yeah. And even the matches we chose, I think the people around it they worked their style and incorporated what Hogan told them to incorporate. And we pretty much just get the same. We get the same match just with characters around Hogan. Because dude, it always winds up Hogan gets bear hugged and he's got to fight out of a bear hug. Everyone bear hugs him for some reason.
Insert King Kong Bundy. Insert Andre the Giant. Insert Macho Man. Insert Warrior, insert Slaughter, insert Sid Justice. It's it's just, even going to the WCW days was the exact same thing, except it was insert a face instead of a heel.
Yeah. So here in 1987 WrestleMania 3 versus Andre, Hogan, he can't do anything to him. Andre's too big. He bumps into him, Hogan falls. He has to punch him like 10 times before he can be released out of any hold that Andre's got him in. Andre lands big boots on him, bear hugs him at times. He does his patented stuff against the turnbuckles where he's kneeing him and then he hits him with his butt.
Yeah.
Sorry, let me close something here. These guys are dinging me up. Ding.
I was gonna say, and also, I don't want to not go off topic really quick, but I think we've mentioned this before when we talked about Andre or when we talked about WrestleMania moments and that kind of stuff. Worst WrestleMania main event, or one of the top worst. It's up there. I think actually, Drew and Brock may have taken that, or Strowman and Goldberg may have taken that torch. But this match was all story and zero in ring.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Just because, and it's nothing against the guys. It's just the story was fantastic. The you go back and watch the promos for it now. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But these guys just couldn't do it in the ring. Like they just physically, like you said, Hogan was not known for his technical abilities, and Andre wasn't.
Couldn't do shit.
Andre wasn't 250 pounds.
Yeah, at this time he was done.
These guys were handicapped, and I mean that not in like the physical where Andre was. These guys were handicapped in their abilities of what they could and could do with each other, and it just sucks because the story that built up to this day, 30 years later, is amazing.
Yeah. So we've discussed WrestleMania 3, but a little bit of backstory. Hogan gets a championship or a trophy for being heavyweight champion and being undefeated for a year. I believe it was a year. And Andre gets a smaller silver trophy for being undefeated for 15 years. So Andre gets pissed, rips Hogan's shirt and chain off, and challenges him to a match. Hogan, I challenge you for the title.
That's a good Andre.
And and then Hogan's crying. He's like, oh, what the fuck? He ripped my fucking shirt.
And Piper's standing there all confused.
Yeah.
Piper somehow is a good guy now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, suddenly Piper's like consoling Hogan. And like, a year ago, you're going to rip his head off. Now you're his best friend.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's pretty embarrassing for Hogan. He's over there crying like a big old fucking baby. So we get this match. And like we mentioned it already. It's Hogan coming back and getting beat down. Coming back, getting beat down. Till...
it's the immovable... what is it? The...
immovable force versus...
The immovable object and irresistible force.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, God, that was a tongue twister for me. I got confused there. Yeah, the irresistible force versus the immovable object.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. It was Hogan with the fans behind him getting beaten down, and then he hulks up, but not quite, and then he gets beaten. He hulks up, but not quite, and he hulks up, and
even on the outside, like he slams, or the Andre goes for like to rush him. He moves out of the way. He slams against the post. So then Hogan goes to tear off the mat to slam the Giant, but the Giant recovers enough time and then gets the upper hand and throws Hogan back in. Yeah, shit like that. It's
the story of like Hogan trying to figure out what can I do to get this guy.
Mm-hmm. And I think they knew what they had, so they'll continue the story after this. So Hogan slams Andre, and he's champion. Hogan retains his championship. We have the crazy moment in front of 900,000 or 9,050, whatever the fucking number was.
93,000.
93,568 fans or whatever. And so Hogan's champion. And Hogan would be champion for 4 years because he regains it at this WrestleMania, but he will wind up losing it to Andre at Saturday night's main event. $1 Million Man is Andre the Giant's manager, and it's the incredible angle of the twin referees where $1 Million Man pays the ref.
He paid no. I was maybe 4 when this happened, 3 when this happened, so I don't remember it.
I wasn't born.
And so, I knew about it before I actually got to see it actually happen for the first time. You know, you see so it didn't have that big of an effect on me.
Yeah.
But the way that Conrad describes, you're a kid and you're watching Hulk Hogan, and there's a referee, and it's like there's no internet. You get the magazine or you get the dirt sheet, and it's like, what the fuck is going on, kind of thing. Like it's like it would have been absolutely crazy time to be a wrestling fan back then, and have this referee that gets facial surgery to look like a guy that gets facial surgery to look like a referee to screw over Hulk Hogan so the $1 Million Man can get the championship.
Yeah, and to say this is the first time it was ever done would be a lie, but this is the first time it was done on recorded television or a pay-per-view at this magnitude. Not some territory shit where 200 people saw it or 50 people saw it or fucking like 150 people saw it.
It wasn't a gymnasium. This is like on TV. This was on like you tuned in, sat down, watched it, and this happened. And so I might be wrong, but I don't even think this was the main event. I think there was a match that happened after that too, because I went back and I watched it on the network a year or two ago, and I want to say that there was something else that happened after. Like there was still like another 20 minutes in the match or 20 minutes in the show after that happened.
After
the Hogan gets screwed.
oh
I
I didn't watch.
wrong.
I didn't watch
I
it.
could be wrong. I watched, like I said, a couple of years back, but I want to say that wasn't even the main event of that night.
I don't know.
Well, because Saturday night's main event and those kind of shows, they would start off with like Ultimate Warrior defending a title,
Oh,
and then the main event would be like just something like just two guys.
so from listening to the podcast, something to wrestle with, they would do that because they were trying to catch the audience at that time because they knew that there was prime television time to when they were switching over into wrestling.
Yeah.
So they're like, let's put our best shit so we can catch them and see if we can keep their attention going. But we have to put on our best stuff right off the bat.
Yeah.
Because of the time slot that they had.
Yeah. Yes, and that's why you would see like pay-per-views, the titles go last, but on those kind of Saturday night shows, it would be the title could be the second match, the first match.
Let's see. Yeah, so he wound up losing it after 1,474 days. This is some of around the time where champions had it forever. We don't see that.
Well,
much.
because there was only one pay-per-view.
Yeah, you're
So
right.
you would win the title at WrestleMania, and Bruce Pritchard talked about it. We would put the belt on you at WrestleMania, and then you would hold it for the year. Because there was, unless on occasion there could be something at a house show, but it was very unlikely.
Yeah.
It was you plan ahead for the whole year, and then WrestleMania would come along, and all the titles are on the line, and some wins, some lose, and that's it. And then with the invention of SummerSlam and Survivor Series and Royal Rumble, they were able to change the titles a little bit more and kind of keep the stories fresh. Although you did get to see like those Saturday main event where the title gets dropped and it's just like, oh, what the fuck moment.
Yeah. So this would lead to the title being vacated because of the funny business due to the referee stuff. And at WrestleMania 4, there is a tournament for I think it was 4. Yeah, right? Because
Yeah.
So at WrestleMania 4, there's a tournament where Hogan participates in the tournament and gets knocked out, I think, by Andre, or him and Andre get a bye.
They both have a bye in the first round, but they have to face each other in the second round.
Yeah. And I forgot what happened. I think there was interference or something on Hogan's match.
Double count out or double disqualification, but either way, they both are eliminated from the tournament.
Yeah.
Because the winner would have fought Ted DiBiase in the third round, and instead Ted DiBiase
gets a bye to
the finals.
Yeah, and I think that was the storyline because Macho Man had to have a match before that.
Because Macho Man fought 4 times and DiBiase fought 3 times.
Yeah. Which would lead to Macho Man winning the belt. Ooh, yeah, let me tell you, the cream of the crop.
Dig it.
He wins the title, and the reason we mention this, not only because Hogan's but because this is going to lead into the year-long feud that would end at Ryan's match at the next WrestleMania. So yeah, Macho Man.
Also, it's also one of the things that you're going to start to notice with Hulk Hogan. He's eliminated from the tournament, but he's in the main event.
Mm-hmm. He has to. So
Hogan's got to pose.
So Andre is going to come help his buddy Ted, and then Hogan helps out Macho Man because he stops Andre from interfering or some bullshit, and then Hogan poses. It is what it is.
But we get the Mega Powers.
Yeah, this is going to lead into the Mega Powers. So Randy Savage is champion going into 88, my birth year. I think we looked this up during the time you were born. I forgot why.
Who was the champion the year you were born?
Yeah.
And 95% of the people born in the 80s were just like Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. I got Macho Man because I was
83, 84, 85, 86, 87, part of 88, 89.
Yeah, I was October 88, and I think Macho Man was still champion because he didn't lose until WrestleMania.
He loses it in 89.
Yeah. So. Oh, yeah, brother. Well, that was a little bit of Hogan and Macho Man.
That was the handshake coming together.
Yeah.
Or is it they got to hold it back a little bit?
Yeah. Hopefully, well, when we see each other, hopefully I remember to do that. I'm gonna be like, ooh.
Yeah. When I see you, I'll pull it back. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm gonna fucking.
And all the people around us will be looking at us
like, what are you doing? I'm gonna start spinning around like, oh yeah.
I'll pick up Carla and put her on my shoulder.
Hopefully, I remember to do that. Yeah. So let's see.
Mega Powers.
Yeah, August 29th, 1988, the Mega Powers versus the Mega Bucks at the first ever Survivor Series. So that WrestleMania victory and Hogan helping Macho Man win or not get fucked over for the title kind of leads them into being friends, which would lead into the Mega Powers versus the Mega Bucks at the first ever Survivor Series.
I don't want Elizabeth in no itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikini.
So that was their secret weapon, and the bikini wasn't whatever.
Itsy bitsy teeny weeny.
It wasn't teeny weeny, and it wasn't polka dotted.
But it was funny because the Bruce Pritchard. I actually just listened to the Mega Powers episode, Summon to Wrestle. It's episode number 2. People should go and listen to it because it's really good. Bruce Pritchard talked about they were selling posters of Miss Elizabeth wearing less than she was wearing at SummerSlam, but at SummerSlam was where Macho had his issues. So you could have a picture of Miss Elizabeth wearing like a full-out bikini showing more cheek, and that was okay. But on TV, no.
Hey, bro, can't do it.
It's just a really funny thing.
He probably saw the picture and was like, "Fuck that, can't do it, no."
Yeah,
Too
then they
much
started.
Ass. Yeah,
they started putting out the. They planted the seeds of Hogan.
I'm getting hard.
Hogan's got feelings for Miss Elizabeth. And is he a good friend? He's when Savage had her on his shoulder, and Hogan went to touch her back. That hand was just a little too low. It was near the thumb, and then that awesome match with the Mega Powers against the Twin Towers, and Miss Elizabeth gets knocked out.
And before that, we had the Royal Rumble '89. Hogan eliminated Savage from the Royal Rumble.
Right? Yeah.
That's kind of what started the rift, because Hogan Macho Man was like, "What the hell?" And, then they kind of were like, you know what? It is the Royal Rumble. I can't really be mad at this.
It's every man for himself.
So he's like, okay, yeah, I get it, yeah. And then the whole Miss Elizabeth thing, and then it kind of got more and more into Macho Man's head.
It's a great story.
Oh, it's a long story too. Well, because of the pay-per-view thing, but
it's because now you have the Royal Rumble, now you have SummerSlam, now you have WrestleMania. So you got from really from WrestleMania 4 when he wins it and they first kind of unite. You get a full year of pure story building, and you throw in a couple Saturday Night's main events and that kind of stuff. The fact that these guys formed a tag team and were successful, there was no fighting over the belt. It says a lot because, I remember about 10, 15 years ago, the big thing was whoever was fighting each other at WrestleMania, John Cena and Triple H, John Cena and Shawn Michaels, whatever, they would become the tag team champions. And there would be, they always would give the tag team titles to the guys that were going to fight at WrestleMania for some reason. It was like a stupid random angle. Here they didn't do that. Here it was just, hey, you're the champion, and I'm your friend. Let's just be a team. And then it was told beautifully back then, man.
Yeah, I think it's also that Hogan had faith in. I mean, I guess he was doing movies and doing other stuff at the time, but I think he had faith in Macho Man being able to carry the title and being able to draw. I forgot who he didn't have faith in doing it and then dropped it anyway. I think Warrior.
I think Warrior.
And then Warrior didn't draw, and he was like, "See, told you." But it was nice at the time to see Hogan kind of take a back step, let Macho Man take the reins, them form the Mega Powers, be a tag team, not win the tag team championships, and steal the shine.
But yeah, but it was more like because Macho did some programs with Million Dollar Man. It was more just about I'll watch your back, and then it was because hey, let's become a tag team. Like that's all it really was.
Yep. And let's see, Royal Rumble '89. Yeah, Hogan eliminates Savage. Then the main event too. Savage attacks Hogan because Elizabeth. Oh yeah, this is where Elizabeth gets fucked up by. So the Twin Towers hit Macho Man, and he accidentally hits Elizabeth. Hogan takes Elizabeth to the back, abandoning
Macho
Man. I think Macho Man wins. Yeah. Or
yeah.
I think he winds up winning somehow. And then he attacks.
And then he goes on a rampage.
Yeah, he comes out and attacks.
We need help, brother. We gotta get our help, brother.
Oh yeah, I know what's going on. Yeah.
He had lust in his eyes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Lust in his eyes.
Yeah. So this is what really leads into WrestleMania 5, Hogan versus the match. I like this match better than Warrior, and I guess we'll talk about Warrior. That's the next WrestleMania. But I liked Hogan Macho Man because not only how iconic both guys are, and the perfect. It was everything. Like the event, WrestleMania, the story, beautiful, possibly. It's got to be top 5.
I was gonna say top 3.
Yeah.
For a story and I would say story because of how long it went and how fluid it was.
And how iconic both guys are. Like Macho Man to this day. Macho Man, in the long run, Macho Man might come out ahead of Hogan. Like, and that's crazy.
Yeah.
Just the character itself is awesome. Is one of the best characters of all time.
I work with 18-year-old kids, and I do stupid impressions because I'm an idiot. When I do a Macho Man, they know it's Macho Man.
Yeah.
When I do a Hogan, and I say it's look at my 24-inch pythons, brother.
Like, I'm not your brother.
They're like what are you talking? What? They're confused.
Yeah.
But when I say oh yeah, dig it, they're like, don't do Macho Man.
Yeah.
So like they know they don't get the reference of a Hulk Hogan first. I don't know what it is, but for some reason, like I think Hulk Hogan might have been I think he's well known to wrestling fans, and I think he's very well known by a certain generation. But Macho Man just kind of transcends for some reason. There's something about Macho Man.
Yeah, it's that voice, the energy,
and it's
electricity's coming off that guy.
Look at the outfits. You know, Hogan came out with the the yellow trunks, the red trim. Then he had the pants with the NWO. Then he had the red and yellow pants for a bit. Macho Man was constantly. It didn't WrestleMania 4. He had Hogan. I think Macho Man wore more outfits in WrestleMania 4 than Hogan wore in the 80s. Mm-hmm. Like it's like
yeah.
Like Hogan, I know wore 3 different outfits in the 80s. Macho Man wore 4 in one night.
Yeah,
but
I mean, bro, when you got style, you got steez like that.
Yeah, and to snap into a Slim Jim.
Oh yeah. Hogan wins the belt off of Macho Man in this match.
I think this is Hogan's best WrestleMania match, and I think it's strictly, and I'm biased because Macho's my number 2 all time. Macho's a storyteller, and Macho wasn't a muscle-bound freak. He wasn't 7'4". He wasn't 500 pounds. He wasn't King Kong Bundy. You know what I mean? Like he was a guy smaller than Hogan. Mm-hmm. And so Hogan was beating up the little guy. So you know that kind of made it stand out more. Like this wasn't Hogan trying to beat something impossible. This was Hogan just beating another top guy.
Mm-hmm. He was using a lot of his chicken shit heel stuff running out of the the ring whenever Hogan was trying to get something done, and just eye rakes and stuff like that, pulling his hair. and choking him with the grip tape.
Yeah.
And then using high flying stuff too. He was still getting off some good offense in between using heel tactics, and it was a really good story. And Macho Man's known for
It
that. He's
was.
known for
Yeah.
like laying it out, writing
Saying
it out, calling it in the
like
ring as well.
him and Steamboat, he had 34 pages of notes for a match.
Ridiculous.
34 pages, both sides of that match. That's
Ridiculous.
how deep he was into it. That's why, and you go back, you can watch all of Hogan's WrestleManias. I think I will put Macho as number one. The only one I might say can hold a candle to it would be The Rock. But that's, the problem with that one is that's The Rock fighting an older Hogan now.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Yeah, he took the belt off of Macho Man in this match. It was a great match.
You know what? And go back and watch the finish. When Macho lands the flying elbow, 1-2 kick out. And normally when you get the Hulk up, it's the shaking of the head, the punch, whatever. The way that Macho is selling the disbelief. Most guys, they would just look at the audience, like look to the left, look to the right, and then go for the punch. Macho was like pacing. He was like he would punch him and then pace as Hogan would shake his head. And then when Hogan finally stood up, he did like the full, like he walked in a loop before. It's almost like he was trying to build momentum, and then Hogan blocked it, and you got the 1, 2, 3, the big boot, the leg drop, and the pin. But the way that Macho sold the hulking up was beautiful. It was something that you don't see. Like you didn't. Macho sold losing, which that is something that stands out. Like that guys don't do enough of.
Yeah, they need to sell a lot more, especially because there's so many high spots nowadays. There's so many like top rope moves that need some more time to let it simmer, let it sink in a little bit more. And sometimes they blow right through it. And I get it, time restraints and everything, but sometimes in instances like this, it kind of makes the match.
Yeah.
And both of these guys selling made the match. But mostly Macho Man.
Mostly Macho.
Let's see. Main event 2.
Yeah, so now it's going to be really... Throughout the rest of this, it's like Hogan just kind of going through the motions. This might have been around the time where he fused with Earthquake. I'm not too sure, but...
Yeah, this is his second run. It lasted a year. He defends against Savage. He defends against Sid. Earthquake. This will lead into the Big Boss Man match, the cage match.
Right.
They have a Saturday night.
This is almost him just kind of fighting, just not random guys, but just he was starting to get they were kind of falling back into the trap of Hogan versus the big guy, Boss Man. He'd fight Boss Man, Akeem, Earthquake, like I mentioned. The 89, 90, 91, he started kind of falling back into that trap of I gotta fight the big guy and come through.
Yeah, because Boss Man, he's a good heel and he's a fantastic wrestler for being a big man, but at this time he wasn't like, he was just a big heel that you could throw at Hogan.
Yeah.
Oh no, 1990s when Hogan gets his ribs crushed by Earthquake.
Oh, it's I'm a year early.
Yeah. Yeah. So the reason I picked Boss Man again was because he's a badass wrestler. I was actually watching some stuff from 1986, his debut matches, dude. It was crazy. He's like in a singlet. He's a lot fatter.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a beard. His hair's different. He's really different. It's really weird.
Well, he just left the jails and he didn't know what to do.
Yeah. Him and Hogan do kind of have like a mini feud at this time. I don't know if they were trying to get Boss Man over, and it kind of does because Boss Man's going to be known for a while, even going into the Attitude Era, where he beats the shit out of Hogan. And he's always handcuffing him everywhere. He even handcuffs him to a guardrail.
Yeah, he was Boss Man was that weird guy. He was like he was a Southern cop who was a bad guy, and then all of a sudden he becomes like Hulk Hogan's best friend,
Yeah.
and then he just kind of disappeared from TV.
Yeah.
It was I loved the Boss Man. I think he was a great character, but it was just he was so bizarre how he was like just destroying Hogan, and the next thing you know, he's on Hogan's Survivor Series team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, I guess he's a good guy now.
Yeah, and that match that he had with him was a Saturday night's main event.
Yeah.
May 27th, 1989. In 1989, he also starts filming No Holds Barred with Zeus.
Johnny listed R.I.P. baby.
Yeah, right. He died last year.
Last year,
I don't
this
think I've
year.
ever seen the movie, to be honest. No Holds Barred.
Oh, it's awesome. It's a great movie.
I've only seen like the scenes like, what's that smell? Dookie.
Yeah.
But that's an iconic scene. Who doesn't know about it?
But it also gave birth to the great No Holds Barred, the movie.
Yeah.
The match.
Yeah, there was also a match, right? This led into a match.
It was a cage match. It was a tag team cage match. Zeus and Macho King versus Hogan and Brutus the fucking Barber.
Do you remember this match?
Yeah.
I
watched it on the network because
I need to take a piss. Can you talk about it real quick?
Yeah.
Right.
No, it was last year at one point. Conrad and Bruce had covered No Holds Barred, the movie. They sat down, watched the movie, and broke it down, and they talked about it. So I'd gone back and watched, the movie, The Match, and it's the match is what it is. I think it doesn't go too long. It was a one-off, if I'm not mistaken. It was just a Saturday night one match. That was it. They had some build-up in the match, 14 to 16 minutes maybe. Decent match. It was like Ref has said, it was your typical Hogan match, except it was a cage tag team match where the good guys are getting beaten down, and then Hogan comes through. Match during an interview, Hogan and Beefcake were actually attacked with baby powder by Sherry, Zeus, and Macho, and they get beaten down. The wrestlers come back and rip them all apart, and it set the stage for the match. And the match, I think, was kind of to hype the movie as the movie was to hype up the match.
And in case I don't talk about it, because we're probably just gonna rush over it, Zeus will be. I forget what he is in WCW, but they're in a cage. It's in a cage match. It's
Z-Man, isn't it Z-Man?
Yeah, I think it's Z-Man. I think you're right. And it's all of the Dungeon of Doom.
That's the triple cage, right?
Yeah, where it's him and
it's like 9-on-2 or something.
It's Hogan and Macho taking on every one of the Dungeon of Doom and Z-Man. It's ridiculous. It's we talk about it in Hogan in the NWO episode because we go into.
Did we break that match down?
We talked about it on pay-per-view.
Did we do the actual Halloween Havoc?
I think we did. I think that's why we talked about it.
Yeah.
So that'll be a Halloween Havoc now that you mention it. But we did break it down. That's why I remember it so not vaguely.
Yeah, because it's the Dungeon of Doom plus Arn and Rick.
Yeah, they're like at the top or something.
Yeah, it was like a stupid all those triple cage matches are stupid, but it's like a video game. You beat the first level guys, you beat the second level guys, and then you get to face Shang Tsung at the end.
Yeah.
And Macho Man and Hulk Hogan won Mortal Kombat. Zeus definitely got lucky purely by really landing the No Holds Barred role, because it got him a nice little wrestling gig and some paychecks, and then it kind of got him on other TV shows like Fresh Prince and that.
Yeah. In 1990, Hogan wins the Royal Rumble.
Back to back, right?
He'll win it in 91, yeah.
Oh, he didn't win. Who won it in 89? I thought he was.
Was there one in 89?
Yeah, he eliminated Macho Man. I thought for some reason he won 89, 90. No. Not important.
Let me check. I want to know. Royal Rumble.
Well, I know Duggan won in '88.
Royal Rumble 1989. Wiki. I think it's Duggan. It's showing a picture of Duggan. Yep. Big. Oh, no. Big John Studd.
Big John Studd was in '89.
Yeah, that's what it's saying here.
Damn, so Hogan got eliminated from a Royal Rumble. That's crazy.
Andre was 3. Was Hogan? Was he in it? Yep. Hulk Hogan was 18. He was. Oh, he was eliminated by Akeem and Big
Akeem
Boss
the
Man.
African Dream.
Yeah, and Big Boss Man.
Oh, so the Twin Towers.
Yeah.
Which would make sense because that was kind of the build up to the Saturday night's main event that led to the Miss Elizabeth.
Yep.
There's your story. There you go. See, we connect the dots here, guys.
Yeah, good thing I checked that out. Good thing I went back and checked 89. Okay, where were we? Yeah, so 89, Big John Studd wins it because Hogan got fucked over. Mega Powers, that was story in there, all right? And then WrestleMania 6, he loses to Ultimate Warrior, so Ryan chose a match where he loses. Because he hates Hulk Hogan. Brother. Yeah, this was a good match. I like the Macho Man better, but these two guys are very limited in their skill sets, and for what they did was incredible because of their limitations. You have two guys that all they know is like 5 moves each, and they're like, "I'm the big strong guy." No, I'm the big strong guy. And I guess that was the story behind it. You know, 2 big juice heads going at it. It didn't. It was a good match because, well,
it was. You know what
they're
it was?
icons. That's why.
That's what I was gonna say. I picked this match because it's an iconic match.
Yeah.
It's what it like. It's one of those matches where I don't want to say irresistible force and immovable object, but it basically is 2 irresistible forces and 2 movable objects going at it.
Yeah.
You couldn't deny Hogan. You couldn't deny Warrior. They were both huge at the time. They were both loved. They were all over the map. Like, it had to happen. And the fact that you're putting the Intercontinental Champion in there, so it's a title versus title. It was. Well, this was actually this was the 6th WrestleMania, and it was also like it was also Hulk Hogan's 6th WrestleMania first.
Yeah.
Because he had a first at every WrestleMania. He was WrestleMania's first main event in a tag team. WrestleMania 2 was the first WrestleMania main event cage match. WrestleMania 3 main event was the first traditional match. WrestleMania 4 was the first WrestleMania without Hogan in the main event. WrestleMania 5 was Hogan's first time challenging for the title in the main event. And WrestleMania 6 was Hogan's first time losing a WrestleMania main event. The first 6 WrestleManias was a first with Hogan. That's crazy.
Well, they had their cash cow, man. They know who to go with.
But you look at it, like the fact that he didn't get his first WrestleMania traditional main event until 3.
Yeah.
Like not even like after the tag team match, you figure okay, traditional match will be the next year. Nope, cage.
And going back and doing a little bit of research, man, he had his Marvel troubles in '84. Like he was around for a while. He was building for a while.
Oh yeah.
Like for a long, like WrestleMania 1, Hogan tags with Mr. T. He was making movies. He was in Rocky 3, and he wasn't even, like you mentioned, it wasn't even a singles match. We had to wait till WrestleMania 3 until he got his first traditional singles match. Well, I guess he had a cage match against Bundy, but like at that time, Bundy, like,
yeah,
okay, I guess, but WrestleMania 3 definitely dwarfed that, and it was against Andre, and he couldn't move, and it wasn't even a cage match.
Yeah,
and that one beat the Bundy one. Like just going back, it's ridiculous to see how long he had been around.
And then and it's And you could tell why. Like, he lost the match to Warrior because he was supposed to, like, they wanted to put the belt on the Warrior and say, Hogan, you go do your movies, do your thing, whatever.
Yeah.
And they still couldn't get rid of him.
Nope.
They had to go another 3 years.
Yeah, doesn't he lose and then doesn't he hand Warrior the belt at this? Is like, here
Yeah,
you
because
go.
it was one of those things. It was
I'm passing the torch.
Warrior moves out of the way, the leg drop, hits the splash, and it's 1, 2, 3 kick out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he says, that was a 2 I kicked out, brother.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't lose clean. You know, it had to be some form of like, oh, I was that close.
Yeah. Oh, you beat me by a split hair.
And then he went and he took the title from the announcer and he was holding it, and then he hands it to Warrior.
Yeah.
And then he walks off and Hogan doesn't pose. But he still gets that. And Bruce Pritchard's even talked about it. Hogan still gets the spotlight. Warrior wins the match, but Hogan gave him the title.
Yeah.
Hogan was the bigger man. Like, it's kind of, no matter, like, Hogan's still kind of, you know, take your vitamins, say your prayers, do your steroids, you know, call black people bad names, and you can be just like the Hulkster.
Hey, you forgot to believe in yourself.
I got 4 of the 5. But you know what I mean? It's like one of those things. Like, he still managed to get the spotlight off of Warrior, despite Warrior being a double champion.
Yep.
The first double champion in WWF history, and people remember Hogan handing him the belt.
Psych, he dropped it right then and there. He dropped the IC belt.
Yeah, but he was a double. You can't deny the fact that he's holding those 2 titles up.
Yeah. No, I think WWF, they're like, fuck, we fucked up. Well, we just made a double champion. Well, why don't we just make him drop it? All right.
Yeah. You have to pick one to defend. Your choice.
Yeah. Of course.
I pick IC.
Of course. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
It's yellow. I like it. Like what?
Yeah.
All right.
If you make this one teal, I'll keep it. Otherwise, I'm going with the yellow.
Yeah, and that's how long they had to keep Like, that's how long they had to appease Warrior. They're like, all right, we'll give you your own fucking strap. All right, just don't fucking quit.
But that's it.
He'll go on to have his own straps in the World Heavyweight Championship. That's crazy too.
Yeah.
In 1990 as well, Hogan gets crushed by Earthquake. After that, when he comes back, he is the Immortal Hulk Hogan, and he adds that fourth line, the believe in yourself. What is it?
Yeah.
Do your homework.
Take your vitamins. Say your prayers.
Say your prayers, and believe in yourself. This is when that fourth Hulkamania sacrament is added.
The fourth horseman.
Yeah, the fourth horseman. After he gets his ribs crushed by Earthquake, and when I listened to the podcast, I remember Conrad saying that this was a super believable angle. He was super young at the time. I don't know how old you were. I was 2.
I was 6, 7.
Yeah, so I've only remember this after the fact. So let's see. 1991, Hogan wins the Royal Rumble for his 2nd time. This is before you have a title shot, and then next year's Royal Rumble, it'll be on the line. And then next at WrestleMania 9, I think it's, or no,
7.
7.
7, he's taking on Savage. Or sorry, wait.
Slaughter.
Yeah, I think on Slaughter for the title.
For the title.
Another shitty match is what it is.
Yeah.
I hate saying it because these guys are great guys. It's just it didn't translate. Like, the story was great. Slaughter turning his back on America and joining the Iraqis. Oh, amazing story. Winning the title at Royal Rumble, which we talked about, and then Hogan challenging him for the title, and they have to move it from L.A. to Indianapolis because of terroristic threats. It was it was still in L.A. It was a different. They had to change venues because of terroristic threats. Like, that's how much Slaughter was hated, quote unquote. Like, that's amazing. And then the match comes and it's just ho hum. And it sucks because I feel like we talk about this every Hogan match. The build-up is fantastic. The story is great. The hype, the promos are on point. Everything is great. But then you just get that Hogan match. A to B, B to C, C to D, D to E, E to F, F to G, G to H, pinfall.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. At the end of 91, that same year that he won the Royal Rumble, then he beat Slaughter in 91 at WrestleMania 7. And then Flair comes into the company after that whole debacle with WCW where they want him to switch his whole character and everything. So he comes with the title. They can't legally show it on TV. And so he challenges Hogan. But what happens is Hogan faces Undertaker. Undertaker beats Hogan because of Flair interference. And then 6 days later...
Yeah, he puts the chair in the ring, and then Hogan, he has the tombstone onto the chair, and he gets the pinfall.
Yeah, and then 6 days later, Hogan wins it back from Undertaker with Flair interference again. But due to that, they vacate the title, which becomes the Royal Rumble prize at the end of 92. And at the end of 1990, or at the end of that Royal Rumble, we have Flair winning the World Wrestling Federation Heavyweight Champion, being the first ever NWA, WCW, and WWF champion.
You forgot one thing there.
What?
Undertaker damn near crippled Hulk Hogan.
Ah, psych. These are lies. Fake news.
I know, brother. You dropped me on my head. I felt it, brother.
No, but I know what you're saying. Hogan.
Hogan claimed that the tombstone caused him severe neck injuries, and he didn't feel safe working with Mark Calloway anymore because he just didn't know if he could do the move properly because he landed directly on his head, even though all video and photographic evidence clearly showed his head a good 6 inches away from the ground. He felt it, brother.
Undertaker or Mark Calloway's been the only guy that they, for this whole career, maybe Kane, that they've allowed to do the pile driver, the tombstone pile driver, the way he does it. Because he can properly do it, and he has not fucked anyone over.
Even in his later years, when his body wasn't as strong and his body was all fucked up, he could still do the tombstone properly.
So, yeah.
It's the fact that they showed Hogan footage and video, slow motion, and pictures, and he's like, nope, I felt it. And they're like, well, don't know what to tell you there, Hulk, because it didn't happen.
Yeah, like, you're crazy, dude. Let's see.
So now at WrestleMania, we're going to get our match. Hogan and Flair, WrestleMania 8.
They do have a match, but they never have it. I think it's like, I don't think it's televised. Or
no, it's not.
Yeah, I don't know.
If it wasn't, it may have been
recorded.
It may have been like a Superstars.
Yeah.
Maybe it came out like on a Saturday night or something.
I think that's exactly what it is. I think that's what you got right on the nose.
But they had remember they even did a really big press conference too. And then it was announced that it was going to be Macho Man and Ric Flair, and there was going to be 2 main events. Not a co-main event and main event, but 2 main events. The first main event is for the title. The second main event is a non-title matchup of Sid Vicious and Hulk Hogan. Sid Justice and Hulk Hogan. Because Sid Justice eliminated Hulk Hogan from the Royal Rumble and Hogan's feelings were hurt. They get the last match. What? You're putting Flair and Macho for the title as like the 3rd or 4th last match. And then the main event is going to be Sid Justice and a feelings hurt Hulk Hogan.
Hey, he's got to get his revenge, bro. His feelings are hurt.
And another... it's a Sid and Hogan match. You know what I mean? It wasn't great. The match was not good. There was it seemed off a lot. And even in the finish,
you know what it was, right?
Papa Shango forgot his cue, and he was late, and they fucked up the finish.
Yeah.
And then the Warrior came out, lost because he was supposed to come in for the save, And the Warrior didn't know what to do because fucking the match was all changed. So like the whole last 2 minutes of the whole thing was just a shit show.
Yeah. Forgot what I was gonna say.
Talking about the match being off point with Sid. Was Sid thinking about baseball?
His leg break. Oof.
Oof. Ooh.
I was gonna say we both know why that match didn't happen.
Oh yeah.
No, neither Flair nor Hogan wanted to put either one of themselves over, especially for a title on pay-per-view like that.
I think the problem was that they didn't want to put the other person over, not knowing that there'd be a receipt.
Mm-hmm. And knowing Hogan, he doesn't like giving receipts. He doesn't give it back to you.
No. He did it for the Warrior, which was like a one-off. And he even fucking waited 8 years and a shitty WCW match to get that win back.
Mm-hmm.
But Hogan wasn't going to lay down a Flair. I think Flair would have done the job for Hogan if Hogan would have done the job back.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that it would have to be, they would have had to have, I think Flair would have said, lawyers in the room, we're signing a contract that you lose the second match, and I will lay down for the first match. I think Flair would have done it. Because Flair did it for Macho. Flair did it for Bret.
Mm-hmm.
Flair fucking did it for Hogan in WCW. Flair did it for Sting. Flair will do the job. Say what you want about Flair, he'll do the job.
Oh, that's why That's why he has the most championships of all time.
Tied.
Does John Cena have 16?
Yeah.
I don't even know anymore.
Cena's got 16 and Orton's got 15 and knocking on the door.
Yeah. Let's see.
So now we're gonna go from now it's gonna be WrestleMania 7 to 8. So WrestleMania. Yeah. So now like you're just gonna have your random little Hogan's.
We have to skip 8 because he does movies, but also he's back in the WWF. But a little bit of a steroid scandal happens. His doctor.
Oh, that's why he wasn't on TV.
Yeah,
That's right. I was thinking he was doing Thunder in Paradise at this time, but that's right. The steroid scandal is right now. That's right.
And Thunder in Paradise was on WCW because they had that deal with TNT, I think.
Or
TNT had Baywatch or something.
Yeah,
and Ted Turner was going to give him that deal.
He agreed. Yeah, he was going to do Thunder in Paradise and then wrestle on occasion. Yeah. That's right.
You're not that far off. It's a year, but like this was the steroid scandal, so it came out that Hogan.
I remember being like 8, 9 years old, and I remember watching Thunder in Paradise and Hogan not being on wrestling TV.
Yeah, so he goes away for a little bit because he's like, fuck, he needs the heat to go away from him. So that whole steroid scandal happens, and he comes back at WrestleMania 9. This is where he returns. Or no, does he return before that? I know he tags with Beefcake here.
He teams a little bit with Beefcake.
This is where he has that black eye. He's like, He comes because he has that Wave Race 64.
Yeah.
He has that accident.
Was a great game. Yeah.
And he has a black eye, but he teams earlier that night at WrestleMania 9. He teams with Beefcake against Money Inc. And then later on that night, he goes on to avenge Bret's honor and beat Yokozuna in 30 seconds. If you guys don't remember that match, it was a main event between Yokozuna and Bret Hart. It was outside. It was for the World Heavyweight Championship.
Let's just put it this way.
Everyone's in
Las Vegas, dry heat, a sweaty 600-pound man, and Bret Hart got the sharpshooter on those legs.
And everyone's wearing sheets.
Like what? But think about it, if Bret Hart got the sharpshooter on Yokozuna, that's one thing. But to do it in Las Vegas heat, that's crazy, man.
I'm pretty. I've broken down this WrestleMania matches.
Yeah, you did it with Jeff.
Yeah, shout outs to Jeff.
Love you, brother.
Yeah. Let's see.
And then Hogan comes down, challenges Yoko, or Yoko challenges him, and he says sure, and he wins the title, and
We have
Fucking,
Hulkamania back.
it was just a shit. It was not. It was just not necessary.
May 3rd, 1993, Hogan returns to New Japan as WWF champion and defeated the IWGP heavyweight champion, the Great Muta. This is where he calls the championship a trinket,
Yep.
and he makes fun of the WWF belt. And he just shits on it.
He's just an idiot.
Yeah.
He's just kind of losing at that point, right?
Mm-hmm. And his last match is January 4th, 1994 at Battlefield when he defeats Tatsumi Fujinami. Yeah. And then we jumped from there to WCW, and you can go check out our NW episode if you want to get more in depth to what.
You skipped one before he jumped.
Which one?
His final WWF match.
Which one?
My second pick. King of the Ring versus Yoko.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Is that his last match?
That's his last. Well, he had obligations for a European tour that he did.
Yeah.
But his last televised WWF match was defending the title against Yokozuna. And I picked it strictly because of the fact that it was the end of the era. Hogan had left to go do movies with the uncertainty of coming back. But this was Hogan is not coming back.
But that piece of shit's like, I'm gonna go out, but I want a cameraman to flash me in the face.
Yeah, he gets blinded.
Yeah, that's what happens. They have an all right match because it's your big bad heel, and
you know what? And that, you know what? I will say this might have been Hogan's best match against like a super heavyweight because Yoko could move.
And there was story behind it too. It's like, even if there wasn't like in that story behind both of them, it was Japan versus USA. And as much as people would be like, "Oh, racist this, racist that," it was a good angle.
And the cameraman getting into position and launching that thing, and then because remember Hogan was going for the Andre Slam a couple times.
Yeah, and he couldn't
do it.
His back.
Yep. And then Yoko gets the one. It was Yoko gave him a leg drop. 1, 2, 3. Hulk Hogan's WWF run ends via leg drop.
Mm-hmm.
The irony of that. And then he brings him into the corner, gives him a splash, and sends him off.
Oh, well, he killed him after that, yeah.
Yeah, then he goes off and he does some European shows just because of the contractual obligations. But then he jumps to WCW, and we don't see Hulk Hogan again in the WWF until 2002 at No Way Out. Way Out.
He brings his NWO.
NWO. Ah, I see what they did there.
What was it? 2002 to 2003. He has this 1 year run there.
2002. That was more than a year because he did the NWO and then he turned face. Because he had a WrestleMania match against The Rock, then he had a WrestleMania match against McMahon also.
Yeah. Okay.
At
so
19.
I stopped at The Rock. I guess we'll touch on the other ones. So he comes back.
I can give like some loose little bits at the end if you need.
Cool. So he comes back. Vince McMahon injects cancer into his own company for some reason, in some weird.
He was pissed off because Ric Flair was a co-owner.
There you go.
They both own 50%. So he says, "I'm sick. Like I'm gonna destroy my own company. I'm gonna inject poison or I'm gonna inject venom, whichever it was." And it turns around the NWO was on the chair.
Yeah.
Because if he wasn't going to be the full owner, then no one could be the full owner. He was going to destroy his company.
Mm-hmm.
So he brings in the NWO. We talked about this, I think, on the NWO episode. But Hogan got a pretty good promo at No Way Out. When they come out, they just come out and cut a promo, and Hogan basically it's NWO Hogan as a face. Because he's like telling the fans, like, I love you guys. I'm here for you.
That's what it was. It's like
he's a bad guy, and you know NWO is heel.
It's like,
but it's face Hogan.
It was like an old friend.
Yeah, it's like when someone betrays you and they succeeded without you, and they come back into your life, and they're trying to make you feel like, hey, it's all good. Like even though I betrayed you and almost destroyed you, we're good. Like he's trying to convince you that everything he did was for you. I tried to destroy WCW because I wanted WWF to survive. Like he's like doing like that weird angle kind of thing. It was good.
The fans
But
were
it was
definitely.
so,
But I don't think he could resist the fan reaction that they got. It
that's
was
the thing, right? Like the WWE fans will always cheer Hogan.
because it was like Vince is like, I'm injecting this cancer, and the fans are like, yes.
Yeah, we're like fuck NWO. We're getting Hogan back. That's
Yeah.
all. And I
Well, that's
remember
what
all
wound up
the.
happening.
And I was actually thinking about this, like how they could have, if they had done the invasion angle. You know, the guys that they brought in during the invasion angle, right? They didn't bring in Sting. They ended up signing Sting later. They didn't bring in Hogan, Nash, and Hall. They ended up bringing in Hogan, Nash, and Hall. They had Booker T. They had Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho was a little bit before. They had the Radicals. They didn't bring in Goldberg, but Goldberg came later. If you think about if Vince knew that he was going to bring NWO in a year later, if he brought if the invasion was the NWO, picture Hogan, Nash, and Hall with the Dudley Boys, Booker T, maybe Jericho, and that's your WWF version of the NWO.
With ECW guys, oof.
A couple ECW guys, a couple WCW guys forming the NWO in 2001. That's your invasion. Not the invasion angle that we got, but imagine with the invasion angle that you could have had, knowing the name. Like Vince didn't bring guys in because of contracts, but he ends up bringing them in anyways. If he just brought them in a year earlier, imagine that storyline. Nash, Hall, Hogan, and the Dudleys with Booker T against Angle, Austin, The Rock, the Brothers of Destruction, and Jericho. Oh!
No, they definitely were missing a lot of
big
guns.
The thing. Vince didn't want certain contracts, but he ended up bringing all these guys. But he ended up bringing them all in anyway.
Yeah.
Goldberg, Sting, Flair, the NWO, all guys that he said nope, their money's too much. He brought them all in. If he had just bit the bullet a year earlier, the invasion angle would have been out of this world. Sting and Goldberg, you didn't really need for the invasion angle, but they could have drawn some power. But imagine like DDP as being the guy on the fence. Do I join my fellow WCW, ECW guys, or
that definitely could have gone down that storyline.
You know what I mean? Like you could have had such a. It could have been fireworks, man.
Well, Jericho's already over there, I guess. But yeah, DDP would have worked as one of them. You had a lot of guys that could have been in-betweeners.
You had DDP, you had the Radicals, you had Jericho, all guys that were WCW and ECW that could have joined forces with the NWO to put Vince McMahon out of business during the invasion.
Yeah, there's a lot more there. There was a lot more meat on the bone. A lot more. Too much.
If only Vince would have said, I'll pay now as opposed to I'll pay in a year's time.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously I'm not there, so I don't know like all the ins and outs and nooks and crannies of the business and all that stuff, but knowing the names that didn't get brought over financially that ended up being brought over anyway, what could have been. But, we wait a couple of years from '94, and then in 2002 we get The Rock and Hogan. From what The Rock's cousin sends Hogan out of WWF, and then The Rock brings him back in.
Yep. So the NWO injection of cancer leads into they break up soon. So at that WrestleMania,
they break up at the WrestleMania, at the end, because Hogan congratulates The Rock, and
and they're like, "What the fuck?"
Which allows Hogan to pose.
This is crazy how it became one of the most iconic moments in like WWF history, where him and Rock
Rock
shake hands afterwards, and he's like
and
holding his
and that
ribs. And he's like,
well,
oh.
and that stare down when Rock and Hogan are in that stare down,
Yeah.
phew, beautiful.
Yeah. It's crazy
It's
how
one of
long
the,
they can hold it, and the fans are just like.
and this was a good match, and this is what I mean. Like Hogan's a little bit more wear and tear on the body. He's up there in age now, but this is where I said like that Macho Man match and the Rock match. These are his top two matches of WrestleMania
Mm-hmm.
because this is guys that can tell a story. These are guys that will plan things out. These are guys that can actually wrestle, not just be a character or be a force. They can actually do things and help you sell and tell the story. You know.
So this, I would say this probably is his second best WrestleMania match as well,
Yeah,
because of The Rock,
that's
the
it.
characters around them. Yeah, but Hogan being Hogan, he was still able to to muster out what he could muster out. I wonder how fucked up he was at the end of that.
Yeah, he's got it. Yeah.
And that little
He
bit
got,
of time, and as ridiculous as it was, there was a little bit of story behind it. The Rock being the top at the time, Austin not wanting to do business with them, or not wanting to put them over, so The Rock has to be in the storyline with them, and then eventually it's him and Hogan at WrestleMania.
which I like.
It was a little bit of story.
I like it because I think Stone Cold and Scott Hall was better than the Stone Cold and Hogan would have been.
Yeah.
I think the two matches that we got, Rock and Hogan, Austin and Hall,
We're the better options.
I think those matches played out perfect. I wouldn't change those. But that's me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, think about it. We got that iconic stunner that Hall took.
Yeah.
We got that awesome Rock and Hogan stare down. Like Austin and the Rock stare down wouldn't have been the same. Like it wouldn't. I don't know. Like I mean, hindsight's 50-50, right? Or hindsight's 2020. We have the availability of seeing the Rock and Hogan facing off, and it looks right. We don't have the option of seeing Austin and Hogan in that moment, so it's hard to say that it wouldn't work. But I don't think Hogan would have done the receipts for Austin. I don't think Austin would have done the receipts for Hogan.
No.
I don't think Austin.
Well, that's where the tension was, right?
Austin didn't trust Hogan.
Mm-hmm.
Austin trusted The Rock. That's why The Rock laid down for Austin the way that Austin laid down for The Rock. Austin trusted Mankind and Undertaker. That's why they laid down for each other. Hogan, you never know. You lay down for him, he might not be. He might not look up to the lights for you later on. And Austin wanted to make sure, just like Flair, if I put him over, I want to go over. I'm the hottest thing in the business right now. I'm the champion. I'm this. I'm that. If I lose, I want to make sure I get a win.
Yeah.
I mean,
you can't blame him.
No, you can't. I mean, and like I said, we end up with a great iconic matchup.
Mm-hmm.
The Rock and Hogan was a great match, and we got that awesome. I mean, also the NWO breaking up because the Rock and Hogan's handshake at the end. You think Austin's going to give the Hulk Hogan a handshake at that point in time to break up the NWO? It wouldn't look right.
No.
Austin would have shook his hand, stunned him, then the NWO would have come out, and they would have got stunned also. Right? The ending would have been completely different. You wouldn't break up the NWO with Austin, or Austin would look weak. So, I think we were lucky to get what we got.
Yeah. And then he continues to wear the black and white, but like a couple months, like 2 months after this, he starts wearing the red and yellow. And coming out to Jimi Hendrix cover.
And then about 19 years ago, he becomes the last WWF champion when he beats Triple H.
You mean the Undisputed?
He's the last. Yeah, he's the Undisputed champion. It's the last title under the WWF banner. Turns to WWE.
Yeah.
He's the champion when they turn from WWF to WWE.
That's crazy.
Hulk Hogan is the last WWF champion.
That's crazy.
And then after that, he teams with Edge, wins the tag team titles, becomes Mr. America with the mask. WrestleMania 19, he takes on Vince McMahon because Vince McMahon created Hulkamania, but Hulk Hogan, created WrestleMania. So who's responsible? They had like a little street fight that Hogan ends up winning. Um, Quietly, Hogan's just gonna kind of run it right off into the sunset. Really like just kind of this contract runs up, makes appearances here and there, does little pop-ins. Shows up at WrestleMania 30, calls the Superdome the Silver Dome, which Rock and Austin poked fun at him. Gets into some trouble when his daughter was seeing a black man, and he was recorded on a sex tape dropping some N-bombs about it, and things didn't really work out well for him. He gets removed from the website, doesn't get mentioned
back.
on
What do you
TV.
mean? He's all good.
But
he just hosted WrestleMania.
Wounds heal. Things got figured out. He's back with WWF now. He was a pirate 2 weeks ago. Hosting with Titus O'Neil too. Like they're like, hey Hogan, listen, you have to be an ass pirate, and you're gonna have to be hanging out with a black man. Can't do it, brother.
He's like, fuck that. They're like, we'll give you a lot of money. All right. You got it, brother. No, I'm not putting him over, brother.
That's Hulk Hogan for you.
Right? I'll work with him, but I'm not putting him over, brother.
He's back. And that's it.
Yep, that's our Hogan episode. There's a lot in there.
And there's a lot more. Like you said, we touched on WWF. Hogan's one of those guys where we could have done 1980s, 1990s. Like we could have easily done like 1990, 1994 Hogan. We could have done 80 Hogan, and we could have done the return of Hogan. Hogan could be that's why when you see Bruce Pritchard and those guys, when they do podcasts, they do Hogan 86 to 87. They do Austin 96, 97, because there's a lot to talk about. Like we try to cram in as much as we can and just pick a couple matches, just to kind of go in depth. The matches that we like or stood out to us, or they mean something to us, or they're iconic. But there's so much to a lot of these guys. Like there's a reason why we did Macho WCW, Macho WWF.
Yeah.
And there's some guys that we could probably go back and revisit, like Brett and Austin, and revisit some of those guys.
Oh yeah.
Because we did 2.5 hours on Austin and Scott Hall and Bret Hart, and those guys could easily have 5 hours that we could talk about, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, we should figure out who we're gonna do next. That way, I could start looking up shit.
Yeah, we'll talk about a guy. We'll figure something out. Maybe it might be fun to even look at like a random something different that not like your Shawn Michaels is your Hunters, your Rocks. Try and find maybe like maybe like more like a mid card, like an Owen Hart would be good.
Mm-hmm. Or like Hornswoggle. They did that actually.
They did.
Yeah, that is an episode.
That is an episode of something to wrestle with somehow.
Yeah. All right, Ryan. Anything before?
Ooh, controversial. Go controversial. Talk Benoit. Ooh.
We could do a Benoit episode. I'm not opposed to talking Benoit.
I would talk Benoit till the sun goes down, no problem. But if you're in the Windsor area, check out. Hey, you know what? If you're in the Windsor area, please look at Bread by Ryan. Get in contact with me. Let me help you with some bread needs. Otherwise, if you're a listener, just check out Bread by Ryan. It's on Facebook. My Instagram has nothing happening on it right now, but I love talking breads and inspiring people to bake fresh at home as opposed to buying. Also, Thursday, I think it's on YouTube leaked already, but Thursday, Dark Side of the Ring Season 3, Brian Pillman is dropping. Watch it. It's going to be fire.
Yeah, I heard it. I heard the episode's going to be awesome.
I've heard some people who have already watched the whole thing have dropped some stuff, and it's like, oh baby, like it's not to be missed.
Uh-huh.
Raph, once again, I thank you for bringing me on. Thank you for all your support and love that you send my way. I appreciate you, my friend, and I'm happy to have been able to jump back on again.
No problem, buddy. Love having you on. Can't wait for the next one. I love talking wrestling. Go ahead and everyone, if you haven't by now, subscribe to the podcast. check out the Instagram. Check out all your audio platforms: Podbean, iTunes, Stitcher. We are on Spotify, YouTube for video, and I should be streaming me and my friends playing more and more Call of Duty because I've got a new Xbox. Well, not new, but it's better than the one I had because mine was fucking up. So I'm gonna be playing more if I can make the time because I'm cooking. And yeah, so go ahead and check out my Instagram for all that food stuff. Go ahead and subscribe to the podcast if you haven't by now. It really helps out the show. And we will see you guys next time here on the podcast. I love all you guys. And I love you, Ryan. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.